fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Head Left to tune in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Tune in to the fish report.
And welcome everyone to another Fish Report Live, our winter sports season premiere. My name is Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. Thanks for joining us. Back in our sound room tonight, it's TK, and filling in for the vacationing Heavy D is our old buddy Ross. We'll talk to them a little bit later in the show. Out in Studio R, of course, Covey and Kearns back again for another season. Looking forward to hearing what they have to say. And Ken, another big night on FRL, talking hoops.
Yes, we are, Craig. Hard to believe we're in our winter sports season already. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Get your bellies full of some Thanksgiving turkey. But tonight we just got an appetizer for you. And boy, is it going to be a good one. Great to have Ross in the studio tonight. TK, of course, and Covey and Kearns over there in Studio F. Going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk some hoops tonight. We're going over to second-year coach of the Russia Raiders girls basketball program, Andy Timmerman. Did a great job with the Lady Raiders last year. Looking forward to talking to Coach Timmerman tonight and see what's in store for our Lady Raiders.
Yeah, had a heck of a rookie season, I guess. Had the SCAL Player of the Year in Maria Herron. Lost her, actually had a good guard in Tiffany Hatcher. Lost her. Anxious to see what he can do in his sophomore season over there. But before we get to that, Ken, just like we do here every week on Fish Report Live, have our poll question, and tonight's question has to do with girls hoops.
Girls basketball, Shelby County League. Which of these 7 teams, all of the Shelby County League teams, do you feel will win the league championship this year? To all of our viewers out there tonight, please punch one of them tickets there, and at the end of the show, we'll let you know who viewers are saying are going to win the league.
Yeah, we got all the SCAL teams there, Ken, and yeah, if you're watching us on the Fish Report Live page, of course, you can scroll down on your computer there or on your phone. Help us answer tonight's poll question and check the results. If you're watching us on NK Telco Cable TV, TK is going to have those results for you at the end of the show, as Ken mentioned. All right, Ken, well, let's get things started here and talk some hoops. The girls open the season this Friday night. Of course, the boys are always a week behind. They start the next week. Let's talk a little, boys, though, before we get into girls. And let's take a quick look at last year's SCAL standings, see how things shook out a little bit, and I want to get your thoughts on this season.
Well, Craig, last year, boys basketball in the Shelby County League, the Russia Raiders, Craig, won their 4th consecutive league championship. That's just unheard of in the Shelby County League basketball. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure anybody's ever won 4 consecutive championships. I would assume maybe somebody has, but again, Coach Cadonier last year, excellent season, finished 11-1 in the Shelby County League, and they're going to be looking for a repeat or for a 5-peat, I guess it would be this year, Craig. But they'll have their hands full, won't they?
Yeah, they sure will. And you look at those standings, and you got the top 5 teams there. Actually, you go all the way down to Anna with an overall record of 15-10. 5 teams there with a winning record out of that 7-team league there, so that's doing pretty good.
Yes, and when you look at this year, Craig, like I said, Russia going for their 5th consecutive league championship, but they're going to have a big test this year with the Anna Rockets and the Fort Loramie Redskins, Craig. I think both those teams are going to challenge the Raiders for a league championship. Don't sleep on Coach Elkert and the Jackson Center Tigers. I think they're going to win some big games, and I'm hearing Fairlawn's also got some nice players back this year. Obviously, they had a great year last year, but they did graduate a pretty good player in Nathan Lessing over there. But, again, Shelby County League is going to be great to watch this year, Craig. And, Fort Loramie, Anna, Russia, I would say are probably going to be the 3 best teams in the league.
Well, yeah, talking about this season a little bit, you mentioned Fort Loramie and Anna as 2 of the better teams. And we get that matchup already the first week of the season, don't we? Fort Laramie travels to Anna. And, they got players like Dylan Braun, Tyler Siegel, Evan Burning, seniors that have all established themselves, and they're going up against kids like Wyatt Bensman over there, a very good Anna Rockets team.
Going to be a great game on opening night over there in Anna. Fort Laramie and Anna, like I said, probably the two favorites of the Shelby County League this year, along with the Russia Raiders. And I think it's just going to be a phenomenal basketball game. Like you said, Fort Laramie is just loaded. They had a great year last year. They went all the way to the regional semifinals with Coach Corey Britton. They've got almost everybody back from that team. And the Anna Rockets, Craig, they are going to be one quick, fast, athletic team. They can run 5 guards out there and ranging in height from 6'2" to 6'5", and that's right, a 6'5" guard, and they're just going to be fun to watch as well. So big night, opening night over there at Anna. Fort Laramie Redskins taking on the Anna Rockets.
Okay, so we have Fort Laramie and Anna, as you mentioned, and of course the Russia Raiders. We're looking for 4 times they've won the league, looking for maybe a 5th one coming up this season. One of the members of our team here, of course, Daniel Kearns, very nice player for him. But let's talk about their senior class over there, especially Jack Dapor, a kid that was all league last year, but came into the season with some injuries. What's he looking like to start the season?
Well, Craig, you're right. He broke a little bone in his wrist 3 weeks ago, got cleared today to play. Jack's a phenomenal basketball player, great athlete over for the Russia Raiders. And the other seniors, you got Hunter Cohey, Dion Putoff, and Carter Stevie. So 4 good seniors there for the Raiders. A really good junior class to go with it. Blend in a sophomore too, Craig, and then Coach Cononier and his Raiders are going to be very, very challenging this year for the league title. I think they're going to have a great basketball team. They're going to be very competitive in the games that they play. And look, don't sleep on Coach Cononier and his Raiders and just handing it over to either Anna or Fort Laramie. I think they're going to have a successful season.
Yeah, we don't want to sleep on the Jackson Center Tigers or even Fairlawn Jets over there, because as we said last year, 5 teams with winning records, liable to be the same thing again this year.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's talk a little girls basketball, Ken, and before we get into the SCAL, this year let's take a look at the SCAL last year and how things shake out there.
Well, Craig, the Jackson Center Tigers finished 11-1 in the league last year, went 23-5, went all the way to the Division IV Final Four over there in Columbus. Russia Raiders and Coach Andy Timmerman had a great season, 21 wins. And, of course, the Fort Laramie Redskins, Craig, you can never talk Shelby County League girls basketball and let Carla Siegel's name out of the picture, because they're that good again this year. They were young last year. They're going to have a great basketball team this year. And the team to watch, I think, is going to be the Botkins Trojans. I think a lot of talent over there with Botkins this year. They won 16 games last year, and I think they're going to have a very successful season this year as well.
All right, for some more breakdown on the SCAL girls, let's go out to Studio R. Ken, check in with Covey and Kearns out there. Those guys know a lot about basketball, boys and girls. We're going to lean on them for girls basketball, I think, most of this winter sports season. And guys, welcome back to the show here. Want to get your thoughts on those SCAL girls. Who's we talked a little bit about some of those teams. Ken mentioned Botkins as one of his favorites. Talked about the Russia Raiders there a little bit too. What's your thoughts on the SCAL this year?
Well, I think Botkins has a good chance at surprising a lot of people this year. They lost a few seniors off their team last year, but Coach Meyer's going to have his girls ready to have a successful campaign this year. They're led by seniors Paige Lane and Sarah Bergman. Sarah Bergman is a 6'2" hybrid. She can play anywhere on the court. She can play the 1 through 5, and they can easily make it to the regionals, and they can have a very successful season. I read that it was their first back-to-back double-digit winning season since 1999 and 2000.
Yeah, I agree. I like the way Botkins played. I saw him against Russia last year. Sarah Bergman, she's a fantastic ball player. And coming back for her second year of varsity basketball, she's only probably gotten better in the offseason. And I know she got hurt during the volleyball season, but recovering from that injury, she'll look to put her mark on the SCAL and make a run for the title.
And I'm also going to look at Jackson Center. Lost a lot of people off their state Final Four team, but they do return Olivia Clark and Kennedy Reese, who are Dayton top 100 area players. Reese is a great defender, great ball handler. Clark is a silky smooth post player that they got down there. And Coach Reese, I know, can definitely bring his girls back to the regional round. That's what I like about the SAL. It's really balanced this year. And I think Jackson Center is sure in the mix for repeating as league champions.
I absolutely agree. Olivia Clark, she's a great post player. I watched her. She's probably, 6'2", 6'3", and she can really handle the ball underneath. And with all the experience that she's got going to state last year and coming back being a senior leader for that team, they lost a great senior class with Elkert, and who else was it?
Cassie Meyer.
Cassie Meyer, yeah, that was a great class. But without them, Olivia's going to have to step up and lead the Tigers all the way back to regionals.
And I also like the Fort Laramie Redskins. The Redskins, led by seniors Hattie Meyer and Abby Holdhouse, lost some good players from last year, but they got a lot of youth, and they do have one of the best coaches in the SAL on Carlos Siegel. They got a lot of good sophomores, Marissa Meyering, Kennedy Gephardt, and among others. And I think they're going to be definitely up there for the league title, and I think Laramie's going to reestablish their dominance after falling off the map there for a little bit for a year. I look at Laramie to win the league title this year.
Yeah, Laramie, inexperience really troubled them last year against Russia. They just had a lot of freshmen out there on the floor and really didn't know how to play at the varsity level. But this year, coming off of 1 year of varsity under their belt, all those sophomores, they know how to play with each other. They've been playing with each other since elementary school. So I think with those guys and the two leaders, Abby Holthouse and Hattie Meyer, I think they'll have a great year.
And I also got to look at the Anna Rockets. They have a new coach this year. Don't remember his name, but they have Macy Hulskamp to lead the post. She's been playing varsity, I think, all 4 years. They also got Bria Cook. And I think they'll be able to have a solid record, make a run to probably the districts. Don't think they'll be quite as good as Laramie or Jackson Center, but I do think they have a good chance to make it in the top 4, depending on how other teams play this year.
Yeah, last year they weren't that great, but with all the returning seniors, they got 5 or 6 returning seniors, and also from the junior class, Bria Cook and Taylor Kaufman. They'll be a really good team, and you won't be able to sleep on them playing at their place. You know, it's always tough at the launch pad, so I'll see them having a pretty good year as well.
And I also got to look at the hometown Russia Raiders. Losing Maria Heron and losing Tiffany Hatcher was really tough on Coach Timmerman this year. Come up and watch their scrimmage. Our top 3 girls were hurt against St. Henry. They struggled to score points, but Larissa Pollings cleared to play, who I think is a potential SAL Player of the Year candidate. And Jenna Cordonier, I heard, was cleared for Friday, too, for their matchup against Sydney. I'll be interesting to see what Sydney has. They have a new coach. But I think the Raiders can have a solid record. I think they're right in that balance in the SCL, and I think they have a shot to compete for the sectional title just as well as Botkins, Fort Laramie, and Jackson Center do.
Yeah, with the three varsity lettermen out at the beginning of the season, you know, it was a rocky start. But once we got all those back, once Cameo, Jenna, and Larissa got back off their injuries, the Raiders will start getting their chemistry together in practice. And tomorrow and Friday, when they kick it off against Sydney, they'll have a real nice season and a pretty good run in the playoffs.
And the Houston Wildcats, they are probably not going to compete for a sectional title this year, but they have a very solid team. They have the Monier sisters, and they have a chance to be over 500 this year. But not very sure how they're going to be. Be anxious to see how they'll play. I think a good team goal for them will be to get over 500 this year.
Absolutely agree.
And the Fairlawn Jets, too, just to round it out, didn't have a win last year under new coach Gavin Cathcart, but I think the rebuilding process has just begun there at Fairlawn.
Well, that's good stuff, guys. Boy, they sure do. You guys did a great job there covering Shelby County Athletic League girls basketball there. Got to agree with you on a lot of things there, and a lot of talent again. The Shelby County League going to be some very good teams, like you mentioned, Fort Laramie and Russia, Jackson Center, Botkins. I think are probably going to be the top 4 teams, along with Anna's going to win some games too.
Yeah, and of course the season opens up, guys, this Friday night for the SCAL teams in action and against non-league opponents. But probably the game I'm most interested in this weekend happens on Saturday when Jackson Center travels over there to Minster. And if you remember, Minster's last game of the season was against Jackson Center in those regional finals. Of course, Jackson Center won there, as we mentioned, went to the Final Four, beat Minster 39-35. Might be a little bit different story this year. You mentioned the 2 girls, Cassie Meyer and Cameron Elkert, losing those 2 girls, but bringing back a couple nice players there, and their point guard Kennedy Reese and also Olivia Clark. I know that Kearns has got her listed at 5'3", 5'4", 5'5", something, or excuse me, 6'5", something like that. A little taller than what I remember her last year. But anyway, they got Courtney Pranger over there at Minster, and anytime you're going up against that gal, she takes up a lot of lane in there, and a very nice player. Heading to Xavier, I believe, isn't she?
Verbally committed to Xavier. She's got to be a good player. I'm sure, Kobe, you'll be all over that one, won't you?
Yeah, she knows the right spot to go. When I was down at Muskie Madness the other month, I saw her down there, and she committed no more than about 3 days later. So I think I did a good convincing for the Xavier women's basketball team there. But yeah, she's a fantastic player. I think she'll be the MAC Player of the Year this year. She is tall and just uses her size to her advantage, and I think her versus Olivia Clark is going to be a real good matchup Saturday.
I heard that you and You and Courtney Pranger took on JP and Trayvon Blewett, and you guys beat them 15-12 in 2-on-2.
Yeah, I defeated Trayvon with his own medicine with a nice elbow jumper in isolation.
Good stuff, guys.
All right, great stuff, guys, and that's going to do it for our SCAL girls and boys basketball report. But stay right there because we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk to the head coach of the Russia Raiders, Andy Timmerman.
My father said it's time to be home man, but don't go and town in the motherland. You were born with heart, raised on pride. This vinegar runs through your bloodline. Oh, blooded, bruised, and slain. Oh, pride in this name. Well, the skies run deep within this blue. False rules devised by foolish views. Religious divide on mother may create civil war on my family land. Oh, blood and bruised and slain. Oh, pride in this name.
To the second half of Fish Report Live. Before the break, we were talking some SCAL girls basketball, and one of those teams we talked about was the Russia Raiders. They're led by head coach Andy Timmerman, who is in his rookie season finished with a overall record of 21-6. We're happy to have him now live on the telephone. Coach, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me tonight.
Hey, well, listen, just getting started here. The scrimmages are officially over. I actually got a chance to stop into one of your scrimmages this past Saturday when you were hosting St. Henry. And, Coach, I was reading an article in the paper this week about the Versailles girls, and Coach Ratterman over there said the first 10 games of the season don't really matter. You know, I wanted to get – I know you got kind of a late start because of Russia girls going to regional volleyball. How about you? These first 10 games of the season, or these first couple games of the season, how much do they matter to you?
I think right now, especially us getting a late start, most of our girls did play volleyball that are playing varsity. It gave us a nice, some good time for our JV players or underclassmen to develop a little bit more, get one-on-one attention from us coaches. But as of now, most of our varsity players only have about a week and a half in, so I know it's a learning curve. It's been a little bit of a slow start for us. But I do agree with her. You want to be playing the best you can towards the end of the season, and first 10 games and the whole season, you want to keep getting better until tournament time, and then that's when it really matters.
Well, we were talking about your team a little bit in the first half of our show, and mentioned how you graduated the SCAL Player of the Year in Maria Heron. You lost a great guard in Tiffany Hatcher. So those two seniors are gone, but you bring back a couple good seniors in Whitney Plyman and Cameo Wilson. What are your expectations for those two girls this year?
Yeah, you're correct. We lost two very, very smart players. So I think these two seniors coming up are also very bright and very smart, basketball smart. Cameo Wilson, she's a great leader on the floor. She's a vocal leader. She's almost like having a second coach or another coach out on the floor. She knows where everybody needs to be at, so that's awesome for her. And then Whitney, she's a great defender on the ball, makes it tough on point guards getting the offense started. She's also our point guard, so she's like the quarterback of our team, on the offensive end of the floor.
Coach, hi, this is Ken Francis, and You talked a little bit about the seniors, and let's talk about some of the fine returning juniors you've got off of this year's team. Jenna Crononier, Larissa Poling, Shea Borchers, 3 returning Letterman juniors there that contributed a lot to last year's team. Covey and Kearns talked earlier on the show how, Larissa Poling's got the talent. She could be Shelby County League Player of the Year. I mean, she's got that much talent. Obviously, they're very important to your team. Tell us a little bit about these juniors.
We'll start with Larissa. Yeah, she is a great athlete, great player inside, both offensively and defensively. She's a great scorer inside, great rebounder, and defensively, I don't think a lot of people notice it, but I don't think they realize how much of an impact she has inside, being able to stop people from driving and other things inside. So she's a great player on both ends of the floor. Jenna Cordonier, she's a very versatile player. She helps us in many different positions. We expect a lot out of her, and depending on the situation, she might be playing post, she might be playing guard, point guard, so she's about everywhere on the floor. And Shea Borchers, hopefully this year, she's in a role. Last year she bounced back and forth from JV to varsity, but now I think with a role, she knows she's going to be playing varsity. She can step into it and, be confident and comfortable where she's at.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about this year's team in general. The other night we had Meet the Team night over at Russia. The whole Fish Report crew was there. And during your talk, you talked a lot about team chemistry with these girls. Although a lot of them played together last year, it's still different because explain what you meant by team chemistry and how it's important early on in the season.
Well, right now we're dealing with several injuries. So that part of it, we have a lot of underclassmen playing. So a lot of them haven't played varsity, so they're inexperienced on that part. And also they haven't played with the other girls that are on varsity. So that's the main part. I know once we get all the girls back, it'll be a little bit different, and we'll still have to work on the chemistry there as well once everybody is back. But it's just a lot of people competing for those positions at the varsity level. So just mixing and matching around to see who works well with others and who's getting better to get that varsity spot.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about the big season opener Friday night at Rushie's Claire C. Naveau Gymnasium for the 17th consecutive season. The Rushie Raiders entertain the Sydney Yellow Jackets. Traditionally, this game has been a great game to watch. It's always a big crowd. It's a Friday night contest, and there's been some great games, a lot of overtime games, and this Friday night I expect to be no different. Of course, Sydney graduated a pretty fine player over there in Celine Taborn. You had your graduates as well, Maria Heron, Tiffany Hatcher. 2 new teams out there. What do you expect to see from the Yellow Jackets, and what's it going to take for the Raiders to get a win?
I think new coach, it's hard to expect or know what to expect from them, but it looks like they play some zones, so that's something that we're working on. We've seen that a little bit in the preseason, but it's just not being complacent against that zone and still attacking, still looking to score, not being just passing around the perimeter. Got to cut and look for the openings. Zone is nice because basketball players, they can be more basketball players. They need to read the defense and find the open spots. So I look for it to be a good game, and I'm looking forward to the start of the season.
Hey, Coach, one more question before we let you go, and I want to get a little bit of clarification on something. I've been noticing something on social media here just these last couple weeks, and something that seemed like maybe was a trend that started last year, and that is the shortening of the warm-up time between the JV and varsity game. And I think in the past it's always been like 20 minutes, and I noticed conferences now going to 15 minutes. I saw something posted this week that the SCAL was actually going to go to 15 minutes as well. Is that the entire league? Is Rushi going to do that as well? And how will that affect you?
Yeah, it is the entire league. I personally like the 20 minutes, but it's not my call. So we'll just adjust to that. You just adjust your pre-games a little bit to the shortened clock. But I think it's not too big of a deal. But I know it was a trend. It started a couple years ago, a lot last year, and then like you said, this year a lot of conferences are doing that. Just shorten it up 5 minutes, I guess, and doesn't quite give the varsity players as much time to get warmed up, but I think it's plenty of time for them to get ready to go.
Well, sometimes it takes me 15 minutes just to get my popcorn in between games. So, I might be getting back there after tip-off. I don't know if I like that rule, but I guess I'll live with it.
Yeah, that I agree with the same thing. But just live with it and adjust to it.
Well, listen, Coach, from Fish Report Live, guys, here, we appreciate you taking time out on this busy week to get on our show. I know you've got a lot of prep work to do for your big game Friday night. You got a lot of cooking to do tonight yet for your Thanksgiving feast tomorrow. And, we all wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. And, it's been great having you on the show once again. Good luck in your sophomore season, and followed you a lot when you grew up coaching freshman boys basketball over here at Russia. You've always been successful. I'm sure this year will be no different. So good luck to you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys having me. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys as well.
Take care, Coach.
You too.
All right, and that was the head coach of the Russia Lady Raiders, Andy Timmerman. Going to be a lot of fun, like you said, Ken, a Friday night game, which is pretty unusual for girls, but you can do that at the beginning of the season when there's no boys basketball.
Yes, you can, Craig. And again, like you said, Russia Sydney's kind of got used to this Friday night contest. But just one thing on Coach Timmerman there, Craig. Great guy, great young man, and does a great job coaching basketball as well, and great teacher at Russia School. Russia's very fortunate to have Coach Timmerman, and we're glad he's on our side.
He's a New Bremen guy.
I know he is, yeah.
Speaking
of New Bremen, they won a state championship.
They sure did, and for that, let's go back to our sound room. We talked a little MAC earlier, guys. We've been talking basketball for the last 25 minutes, and by the way, there's a couple big football games on Friday night, isn't there, Ross?
Yeah, you're exactly right. We got Minster and Marion Local playing in the state semifinals on Friday. Marion Local will be playing in Division 6 and Minster in Division 7. Did you know the MAC is 36-7 in state semifinal games against non-MAC schools?
Whoa, yeah.
Speaking about the MAC, we want to congratulate all of our New Bremen Cardinals and Versailles Tigers on winning state volleyball championships. With those two titles, that makes 123 state titles for the MAC.
It's amazing.
That's a bunch. Actually, I tweeted something probably a week ago or so, guys, and that was that. That show ESPN 30 for 30. I think they ought to do a 30 for 30 on the MAC because every team in that conference has won a state title now, with New Bremen finally winning one. And I don't know anywhere else in Ohio that anyone that can claim that. That's a pretty amazing thing. And 123 total titles is just outstanding.
That's outstanding.
And TK, we've been talking a lot. I know you're a big volleyball fan. I know you're probably sorry to see the volleyball season over, but you're also a big basketball fan, both girls and boys. What are you excited about this season?
Well, I'd have to say I'm excited about looking for the next, next big thing. Last year, before she got hurt, Melissa Myring from Fort Army was really having a stellar year as a freshman. Unfortunately, got injured and missed the rest of the season. Watching Jenna Cordonier, who maybe some it was a surprise, maybe others it wasn't, showing her athleticism and really starting to shine as a sophomore for Russia. So I'm ready for those next couple little surprises. We talked about Botkins, a lot of talent up there. I'm excited to see what they might be doing this year, and who's gonna surprise us and come up and really have a stellar year. I always like seeing those little stories, and that's kind of what excites me. In addition to seeing the powerhouses and how they fold out, but who's going to come up and surprise us? That's what I'm always looking forward to.
That is great stuff. It makes interesting stories as well, seeing some of those younger players, freshman, sophomore, coming up and just lighting things on fire there, getting hot and playing well and leading their teams. I love to see that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's some really good freshman guys, basketball players, especially over there at Fairlawn and at Bakken. So don't be surprised if you see a rejuvenation of the Fab Five over there at Bakkens maybe by the end of the season, and possibly quite a few of the freshmen over there at Fairlawn playing up. I know they got great freshman classes over there.
All right, well, stay right there, guys, because we have one more thing to do, and that is tonight's poll question. Don't want to forget about that. Ken, why don't you read that poll question to our viewers again, and we'll have DK check the results.
Which Shelby County Athletic girls team will win the league title this season? TK, what's our viewers saying out there tonight?
Well, it looks like we got a hometown crowd voting tonight, with 60% of our votes saying that the Russia Raiders will take the Shelby County League girls title this year.
Well, that's Coach Timmerman. He's got a good team this year. They've definitely got a great coach over there at Russia, so he's going to have some good competition this year, but I would say they're in the mix.
I think they got as good a shot as anyone, that's for sure. All right, and that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. We do want to say special thanks to Coach Timmerman for joining us live on the show. Thanks to the viewers out there for tuning in once again. Ken and I and the crew will all be back again next week. Same time, same place to talk some more basketball. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and good night, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hanging at the fish report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pole when you tune in to the fish report.